Hey guys, it's Maymay, and look at this black fabric. I want a purse, and I think that this bag we've been making on repeat will make a cute purse. Let me show you what I've done. I went out to Amazon and I found these. These are screw-on grommets. I don't have like a grommet installer. Let me get this out of here so it won't be loud. So like I was saying, I don't have like a grommet installer or whatever, but do you see that these have little screws in the back and this guy comes apart? And all you have to do is make a hole for that. Okay, I want to play with these. Learning all kinds of new stuff today, you guys. And I found feet. Let me open one of these. So this little container has little feet for purses. It comes with 2 sets. It comes with little tools. And I love this little container for it. Look how cute these little tiny Ziploc bags are. It doesn't take much for me, guys. I don't know that this will happen in the first build, but I want to have these in case I want to put feet into the next one. And I got silver ones, which are a little more like gunmetal. So I got those. But my favorite part, and I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I'm kind of obsessed with these guitar straps for purses. It's kind of a thing. About 5 or more years ago, probably more than that, I went on a cruise and I bought a purse from the like cruise stores, and it had a guitar strap for the handle or for the strap. And I love how it looks, right? Well, I've been buying these, kind of collecting them, and then I have purses that I put them on. This one I've been wanting for a while, but I wouldn't buy it because it's a little bit pricey. I'm going to link all of this stuff if you guys want to find it, but it's a little bit pricey, and I wouldn't buy it. But because I thought I could use this on the purse I'm going to make, as well as one of my current purses, which I think this will look so good on, I went ahead and got it. So I got this one. Notice it has black, or it's really a dark black hardware. Then I got this one because I was thinking it could go with so many of my fabrics regardless. You know, I can make multiple bags and use this one strap. And look, it has a gold hardware. Here's just something about me you need to know. I'm not a fan of hardware. I don't like putting it in. It's not hard. Hardware is not hard. However, it takes this brain process that sometimes I don't have time for in my sewing room. And when I can just do this and clip it on, if all I have to do is a grommet, you're going to love that. Because I cannot have one of something. I found these on Amazon as well. This package, I want to say this was like $10. Look how many straps. Now, if you know this, when I first got my Apple Watch, I'm not this way anymore, but when I first got my Apple Watch, I changed my band every day to go with my outfits. I don't foresee me doing that with these. What I was thinking is this would allow me to use different fabrics and make different bags. I thought that would be fun. So good to have in my stash in case I want to make a gift. They're not as wide as the guitar strap. You can see that guitar strap's pretty wide, so they're not that wide. But I think these will be cute and useful for gifts and things like that. And as long as I'm installing the area to put the guitar strap on, when I make the gift, whoever gets it can put whatever strap they want to on it. All right, a couple things. You're going to learn some things about me. A lot of you guys are new to me. I am not new to YouTube. I have a paper crafting channel called Maymay Made It. I'm not new to a lot of people, but to the sewing world, you guys don't know me. And I thought I might tell you a little bit about myself today as we get going. But before I do that, let's talk about what this is. So this is literally the large size zipper puts itself in bag that we've been making on repeat. But you'll notice I don't have multiple fabrics here. I just have one. I have been inspired by a Vera Bradley style, right? And I'll tell you what that is. Unfortunately, this video takes a lot of chat in the beginning, but once we get started, it'll go quick. So I have been looking at Vera Bradley bags. I don't have a Vera Bradley that I don't believe I do. I might have a wallet, but I don't have anything else. But I've been looking at her solid color bags and just kind of getting inspiration from them. And the thing I noticed is she uses the same color thread as her solid bag. So the quilting is there, but it's not obviously lines. So we're going to do the same thing. So what I did to get this piece is I cut a piece that is 15 by 23. That's the black piece. This is going to be the outside of my bag. My soft and stable is slightly larger than that, about an inch and maybe an inch all the way around. And then this backer, I wanted it to be simple but different. This guy is cut 16 by 24, so he's a little bit bigger than this guy here. So that way, as I quilt, I can lose some space here and there. Now, this one's going to go together a tiny bit different because we're not putting it together in pieces, so we're going to have to do some measuring we haven't done in the previous bags. No big deal. We can make this happen. All right. I'm going to run to the sewing machine and I'm going to quilt this guy. I'm going to first establish a line across here to get me started. Let me show you how I do that. To establish my quilting lines, I use the lines on my ruler. I'm going to bring this up and let you see. This is just one example. All of your rulers, grid rulers, are going to have these lines. And if you notice, this one is 60 degrees, 45 degrees, and 30 degrees. I like how that 30-degree line looks. I love that pointy cross wherever they meet in the middle. So let me show you what you do. What I do anyway is I take that 30-degree line and I line it up on the edge of my fabric, okay? So that's on my ruler, 30 degrees, all right? Sorry about the light. By the way, I'm in a new studio. I'm gonna get all this figured out. So for a little bit, we'll have some aches and pains. New studio in my house. I just had to move my room, no big deal. All right, I'm a chalk user. You guys know that. I'll use this white so you guys can really see it, okay? Now, I'm going to draw my line along my ruler, just like this. This is my first line. That is going to establish my quilting, okay? Because you guys know, and I'll show you right here, I have this on my walking foot. I haven't installed my walking foot yet. What I will do is when this is on the sewing machine, I will use my walking foot and my sewing, what is this called? My guide arm, I think this is called the guide arm, to get my quilting done. And we'll talk about that when we get there. Now you're like, yeah, you got one line, what about the other? For the other, I do the same thing, but I want it to cross this guy. So I'm going to put this down here. I don't really care where I establish my line. I just want to make sure it's 30 degrees. So I'm going to draw this one. Let me move that pen out of my way so I can make my mark here. Okay. I'm going to draw this one from the bottom. Now, let me say this to you. I am numbers and design and stuff like that challenged. Like, I'm sure there's a mathematical way to do this that makes perfect sense. But for me, this is how I do it. I use those lines on my ruler. So what will happen is these lines will go like this, and then we'll come back like this, and we'll end up with, matter of fact, I think we can kind of check. Let's look and see. Our squares will be something like this. Like if I move this away and stay on that line, let me do a little test. It's just chalk, and I'm using white so y'all can see it. If I do it that way, and then I just basically do it this way, I can line up on that line to get straight, and let's say I'm an inch apart. That's kind of what my purse grid will look like, okay? That little square all the way across, but on the diagonal, and that's what I want. I don't know if this is going to be perfect. This is kind of how I start. Now, I have done this in bags before, and it has worked out really well. It may not work out well this time, but we will find out together. All right, I need to load my machine with black thread, and we can start quilting. I know I didn't take you to the sewing machine for this, but it's a little hard in my setup right now. It'll get better as I get things nailed down. But you see what I did? I sewed an inch away from that line going in this direction. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to start on this line, and I will go an inch away this way. This was not quite an inch. I tried to eyeball that. It wasn't quite an inch to give me that idea, but I think I'm going to be happy with it. Ideally, I like 3/4 or 7/8 of an inch. I don't always love a square inch. I feel like for me, my eye doesn't enjoy that. I like something not quite an inch or more than an inch. But for this one, I think it's going to work. So we're going to see how it looks. Let me go and do the quilting this way, and we'll come back together. So remember when I told you I was going to tell you some stuff about myself? So here's the deal. I've been crafting for a really long time, and I've been doing some sorts of sewing since I was 19, like I've said before in videos. I'm no professional, and I don't hold myself to a perfect standard. I don't do perfect. That's what I have taught my paper crafters. I feel like when we hold ourselves to perfection, we do less. And if we just say, let's try it and see how it goes, we do more. And I am the let's try it and see how it goes kind of person. Like today, I will say to you, here's what I'm going to do. This is not a tutorial. This is me telling you, this is how I'm going to do this, okay? So when I do something and you don't think it's the way to go, change it. It never hurts my feelings when you go, I did it this way. Because I think we should all do our own thing. A couple things I do like about this. Number one, I love the puffiness of this size of block. I didn't think I would. I thought I would want a smaller block, but I like how puffy this is. The second thing I like is I upped my stitch length to 3.3. I had to look to 3.3. Look how cute those stitches are. They almost look, they're not hand done, but they're that thicker look. And I noticed in the images I was looking at for inspiration, you could really see the stitches. So I upped them, and they're so neat and even. I really love that. Now, what do I not like? I need to pay more attention to my line placement because this feels twisted. Do you see that? Like, even though this is pretty straight right here, my pattern, my stitching feels twisted to me. I'm gonna reserve judgment until I square it up and see if I can handle it. I'm gonna be able to handle it because I don't do perfect, but I'm just saying. Okay, so next step, let's take this to the cutting board and I'm going to square it up. We do this all the time. This one is a little bit different than the previous ones where we had the pieced pieces, because what I did on this one, and you probably noticed it, instead of cutting 3 pattern pieces, putting 2 seams here, and making it a little bit smaller, it actually makes it an inch smaller when you do that 1/4 of an inch seam. I just added all those pieces together to get 23 inches. So this is an inch bigger finished right now than I normally would start with. So I've got room to play on this and still end up in about the same size. All right, let me go square it up. So here it is squared up. It's not perfect. I'm not going to stress about it. I think when it's all made up, it's going to look good. I'm not sure this line's coming out anytime soon. It will if I have to add water or whatever. I used a little brush. I might get a firmer brush, but I had to show you what I was doing, so it'll come out eventually. All right, let's talk zipper because it's time to put this in. This is some By Annie zipper by the yard, and I'm trying to do this very, very dark. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to use a lot of color on the bag because I want to be able to change my straps out. I already know that I'm going to have a little bit of a struggle because of the gold, like the gold versus the silver versus the gunmetal hardware situation. So I don't want to add to that in my zipper. So I'm using black with a black pull, okay? So I'm just going to come up here and cut myself a piece. And like I said, I've told you this before, I like to give myself a little extra room to do this with. I don't have my hardware scissors down here. So I've moved my studio downstairs and I've taken over my husband's man cave, which is fine. He doesn't really use it. He just used it for storage, to be honest. So I've left my hard working scissors upstairs. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to get this cut. It's not great, but I got through it. I'll have to go get those scissors and I'm just too lazy right now to go upstairs. All right, so what do we do next? Just like with our other bags, I'm going to install the zipper here. I want to talk to you about lining, by the way. Whenever I put these bags up, somebody always says, I don't like that kind of lining. I don't like encasing the seams with the binding, the seam binding. I want a loose binding, lining inside. Here's the thing about me. I don't like a loose binding in a bag. Like, I'm this person in bags I purchase and also bags I make. I don't know what it is about me, but it's kind of a texture thing. I do not like to reach into a bag trying to get something out of the bottom and the lining come with me. I don't know what that is. And I'll tell you where I learned this. I used to make bags. I made bags. There was a season in my life where I spent 2 years making bags when handbags were first popular, when the handmade ones were so popular. And I made so many bags with that loose binding. And I would find ways to tack it down because I did not like it loose. What I'm loving is using the seam binding, hiding my seams, and I'm not having to reach in my bag and getting, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you ever get crumbs in the bottom of your bag, you have to pull that. I just don't like it. So this is why I never put like those loose liners in. But if you want to, go right ahead. I don't really know how to do it with this bag. I've never tried it, but I'm sure there's a way. All right, so I say all that to say I'm gonna put my zipper on and treat this just like I have all my other bags. So I put the zipper in on one side, and I want to tell you something else about me. This is going to be an all about me video. So I don't know how to use every stitch on my machine, and I don't know how to use every foot on my machine. And to be honest with you, the zipper foot's one of those that kind of gets me. I'm sure I could learn it, but I've never really tried. I just use it the way it feels good, okay? So I put my zipper in here, and I want to show you this. Instead of top stitching here, I flip this guy over and I top stitch on the back using my zipper foot to my advantage, because with my zipper foot I can get my needle right to the edge here and follow down. So if I ever say I'm going to top stitch this, I really don't top stitch it. I find I get a much neater back side here if I let my zipper foot get me right to that edge like that. If I try to top stitch from the front, inevitably I miss it, and look how clean that looks. Okay, so that was another thing. I'm going to take this other side off and put it onto the other side of our fabric, and we're ready to start assembly. All right, I made sure my zipper pull was on the left-hand side because I open from left to right, okay? So I've got my zipper pull correct. Now, here's what we need to do. We need to turn this inside out, but we got to talk for just a second. You know, with this bag, our bottom is what establishes this top section. When we match up our bottom sides and pull our zipper down, this piece just happens. It's still going to happen, but we're going to have to put it in place, okay? So I'm going to turn this guy around, turn him inside out, because we need to work from the inside on this because we're going to box the bottoms of this bag like we did on the last one. And making sure I have my zipper pull in the correct place. This is going to be the top of my bag up here, okay? I'm going to be establishing the size of it myself because nothing down here really matches up. But here's what I need to go by. I need to go by my grommets. I have to make sure I have room to install my grommet here. And this looks pretty good. And the other thing I want to be very careful of, see how small that hole is? I don't want to have so much fabric that I can't get my hook into my grommet. So I don't want to come way down here with my grommet because there's a lot of fabric that would have to get into the hook. Some of these won't matter, like this one in particular. That one would be fine. There's plenty of space for all that fabric. But that one that I love so much doesn't have as much, so I want to be mindful. So I'm just going to lay this here. I've got this, the seam allowance doesn't matter too much right now. It's really this section that matters the most. So let's measure where we're at here. That is 1.5 inches. I'm going to go 1 3/4. I'm going to give myself a tiny bit more. I might regret it, but let me regret it, and then you won't have to. I'll regret it, and then I'll tell you if it worked or not. Let's see where we're at here. That is exactly 1 3/4 inches. Let's see what this feels like. I don't know. That feels like a lot of extra up there. Let's go back. I'm going to do 1.5 inches. I think it's going to be just fine. Also, my plan is to, because of how I'm going to build this bag, is to do a bunch of stitching up here to make this super flat. It's not going to hold anything in here, you know, and this will lean against my body when I wear this crossbody. So my plan is to stitch this down more like I did the original bag. This one, I don't stitch down, I leave it loose. You can see here how that piece is loose up there. But for this bag, I'm going to stitch it down. So that being a little bit smaller is not a bad thing. But what we do want to do is we want to pin this in place. I'm not going to use wonder clips here. The reason is I need this to not shift. I need it to stay right where I have it. So to be safe, I'm going to use pins here. I love clips. I prefer clips, but this is not a place for them. All right, so let's go back here and let's get this to 1.5 inches. Just about like that. I want to look at that again. Make sure we're good. We're good. If we're not good, this is my learning curve. This is where I go, okay, 1.5 inches was not enough. But I'm not going to be able to, once I put a hole for that grommet, it is what it is. So you'll have to let me discover that before you start making. So don't make along with me is what I'm saying. All right, what we want to do now is we want to stitch down the sides. All right, I do want to mention a couple things about when you stitch the sides. Because these zippers kind of go off the edge, what are those pulls called? Infinity pulls? These are infinity zippers, the way they just kind of go off the edge. Because of that, when you sew the sides, be sure to sew down, back stitch up, and back stitch back. When we put our seam binding on, it's going to get another layer of protection, but it's always good to kind of back stitch over those zippers to hold them still, especially here because the teeth can get a little bit separated. Okay, so now we're going to use some, I'm going to call this seam binding. Again, it's not bias tape because it's not cut on the bias. It's just a 2-inch strip of fabric. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it along this side, and I'm going to fold down the top to get that a clean edge, and I'm just going to stitch it right where I stitched my other line, where I stitched it closed. Then I'm going to wrap it around and stitch it again. I have videos showing you how to do this, so I'm just going to do this real quick, and we'll get right back together. I'm going to do both sides real quick. Okay, so I've sealed the edges, right? I want to show you something. If you made this with the zipper, you know, facing out and did it flat, it's just a project bag. You know, you see project bags like crazy. That's a good thing right there, right? All right, we're going to box the bottoms. I left this raw down here. I didn't worry about tucking it under because we're going to cut it off anyway. Let me talk to you about boxing the bottoms. I do not like the way I explained it last time, so I'm going to try again. All right, this seam binding. There's another reason I love using it, and if you make one, you'll see this. I don't think I used it in this bag. I didn't. Look, this was a tester bag. I was just making this one to try it out, And obviously I wouldn't want to leave this like this, but what I really miss in this bag is the stability that this gives the bag. It's almost like putting boning into like a corset to get it, body and have it to be kind of stiff. That's how this acts, and I love it. But this piece does not live out here, okay? This piece, once we finish it, lives on the inside of the bag. So for example, let me turn this one around. So this piece that's on the right-hand side of our seam, we don't need to calculate that into our box bottom because it's not really part of the design. Once we turn this guy right side out, the only thing that really becomes part of our design is the clean seam, okay? So because of that, when you're measuring your box bottom, you ignore from the seam out. You do not calculate that in. On my last bag, I did 1.5 inches box inside the seam. On this one, I want to do a little more. I think 1 3/4 inches is a little much, so I'm going to split the difference, and I'm going to do 1 5/8 inches, which if you hate to measure eighths, just go ahead and do 1 3/4 inches. It's not that much different, but I feel good about this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw this one in. You'll be able to see it. All right, you see that. I'm going to cut that out. Do you see how that is a square, but that is a rectangle? Let me get that to focus. So do you see how if I cover this part up, that this is a square in there, but with this, it's a rectangle? That's because this doesn't get calculated in. Now I'll show you another trick. You get one side done. This feels like a lot of bottom to me. I'm going to test it. I may have too much here. Let's just see. I can kind of lay this down and look at that line. I mean, for a purse, probably not. I'm going to go with it. We'll see how it goes. I think it'll be okay. All right, so I'm going to cut this out. And to be sure that I'm doing them the same on both sides, I'm going to use this as my template. So notice that I'm lining the seam binding, the bound part up with the seam here. So I'm doing the same thing, and I'm going to make that same piece. Now this time when I cut it out, I'm going to want to cut to the inside of my chalk line so I know I'm doing exactly the same size. This is the kind of stuff that, like, if you were to cut on the other side of that chalk line, it's not enough typically for the naked eye to notice there's a difference. And again, we don't do perfect, so don't try to be perfect. This will be cute, and when you put stuff in it, it's going to distort a little bit. You're not going to be able to see all those any imperfections. I probably gave myself too much of a box bottom, but we'll see. All right, I'm going to now take this guy and try to show you how to do this the easy way. I'm going to put my fingers inside those pieces, and I'm going to pull apart, and when I do, they come together like so. And what you want to do is spend some time lining those up, okay? And you want to try to make sure you're in the center and you've got good creases on the corners. This one really closed up well. I think I can use clips for this. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to seal this down, and then I'm going to cover the raw edge with the seam binding just like I did on the sides. If you want to see how that's done, I'm going to link a playlist of these bags in the description, and each one of them has a little bit of something different that we talk about in it. One thing I want to encourage you to do, when you go to sew, pick the side you want your seam to lay to, and make sure you do it the same on both. So if I want this seam to lay to the back, I'm going to sew where it's to the back on this side, and then I want to also sew it to the back on this side, just so it matches. All right, let's go seal this up. So I think I overboxed the bottom. I think I gave myself too much. You don't need that much. But that's what we have to let me learn. And this is my first one, so we're not going to stress about it too much. Let's turn this guy around and see what we're looking like. I'm going to push these into the corners, use all that extra to my advantage. Usually you wouldn't want all that bulk in the corners, but it really does work well in this instance. Now, I might use this bag and find out if it's exactly the right size. We'll see. It's actually pretty. I'm okay with it. Let's zip it. So pretty good shape, but that's a lot of bottom. I don't think I need nearly that much. Okay, so now I want to do this top stitch up here. This time I think I'm going to go up, across and down to seal that in. And then I think I'm going to do 2 lines of stitches through here, just to flatten that out. Let me do it. If it doesn't work, you don't have to do it, but we'll see how it goes. My thought is when I'm wearing this, it's going to kind of wrap around my hip. We'll see how it looks, but it's time to try the grommet. Let's hope this worked out. I think it will. Oh, it looks pretty good right there. Pretty happy with that. I don't have a clue how to do this. I have watched the video. We're going to see what happens when I try. It says to take this guy apart. Let me get a screwdriver. All right, you guys. I put one in without you watching because I had to prove to myself I could do it. Because I don't have the tools for this. Before I do it next time, I will have the right tools. You need a rotary punch to poke these holes, which makes it a lot easier, but I don't have it, so I'm going to show you how I did it. But you can see front and back, it's installed. Let's do this side, okay? So it's a little misleading, and I saw this from another person's video. You think you're just going to trace this circle and then make dots for the screws, but that's not exactly the best way to do it. Let me show you. So what you will do is you will line this guy up and try to get them the same. If I go like this and I go like this, that's almost perfect. It won't matter. Here's the thing. People can't look at both sides at one time, you guys, so they're not going to notice. I also want to have a white pen here. I don't have a white pen at home, but I do have at work. So what I did was I took my chalk and I rubbed my pen on it and I made a mark in there just to get myself a little spot where those screw marks are. And it's not perfect, let me show you, but I can see them, so I can come back and do this. 2, 3. So now I can see those. Okay. You don't have to worry about this center too awful much, and I'll tell you why, because it's really the screws that become the issue. But what I'm going to do is make a mark in here so I can see where it is. Because I don't want to cut too far away from it. All right, so I can see it. Now I'm going to draw this with my chalk to show you this. I'm actually going to be cutting in sort of a triangle shape, like this. I'll cut a little tighter than that, but what I'm doing is I'm cutting all the fabric away from that screw, away from that screw, and away from that screw, and cutting as close to the center as I can, because I can get pretty close to the middle, but you see what we're actually trying to do? It's actually kind of a triangle shape, and look how close out to the edge this goes. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start myself a hole, and what I did to start mine was I just folded this in half, and I took my scissors and just started myself a little starting point, and then I could poke through. If you have the punch, this is nothing. You just punch the hole, and I will have one before the next time. Now I'm just going to cut inside my chalk line. I feel sure I was off camera a good bit for that, but you see that. Then what we'll do is we will feed this guy through, and you're going to treat that like a triangle, right? So you're going to place those, and you'll feel it sink in. It does not feel like it's going to work, you guys, but it does work in that little triangle shape. This was so much easier this time. The first time I really had to struggle. This time was a lot easier. Then you're going to line these up and put the little screws in, which ironically was not the hardest part. I did not have a full-size screwdriver that was big enough for this, so I have this little bit that does work, but the handle was not with it. Anybody else have screwdriver kits that have missing pieces? I'm sure I'm not the only one. So I'm probably going to get my husband to tighten these a little bit more just to get them nice and tight. This one went so easy. Maybe I don't need a tool. That was really easy with doing the triangle cut. I was trying to cut the actual holes. That's not the way to go. Do the triangle, much easier. This one wasn't hard at all to install. All right, I need to do a couple things. Look, we have them in. That's pretty cool. I need to lint roll this guy now because I cut all that fuzz out of the middle. I need to clean the chalk, and then we'll put the strap on. Okay, it's time to put the strap on, which I'm really excited about that. But here's the thing. I'm noticing some fibers kind of close to the edge where I had to go around those screws. Remember, this is the first time I've done this, so it's not perfect. But I saw a video of a girl putting in a grommet, and what she did was she ran a little bit of E6000 around the hole that she cut out, and I think that is necessary. I just don't have any here at home. I'm cutting some thread, you guys. I don't have any E6000 here. I have some at work. So when I get to work, I will take those screws off, put the E6000 in there, and put it back on. So when you're doing it, make sure you do that. All right, let's see how this works with the strap. So this strap is the one I'm not sure is actually going to work because of the size of the little hook. But let's just see if we can get it on there and it not look too bad. It doesn't look too bad, and the strap is really pretty. Isn't that nice? That's not actually the one I want to wear, though. This one, I'm going to have a bag for this one that I know where it's going. I want to put this little granny square one on here because I think it's so cute, and I'll be able to wear it with a lot of different things. It'll match a lot. So let's put this one on. And the hardware matches really good here. Look how cute that is. And this is on a swivel, so I can make sure that's out to the front. Too cute. So here it is with the little strap on it. I will take a picture of it on and put it in the thumbnail for you guys, and we'll probably add it here too. I do have to show you something. All that work I did to tell you guys to put the zipper in the correct place, I got my zipper backwards, but actually, the way I wear this, that's where it should be because I wear this crossbody, and so I will actually be reaching around my body to get to the zipper here, so that was a happy accident. I'm pretty happy, you guys. I think it's pretty cool. There are some edits I would make. If you would like to see those, let me know. I think I would like it a little bit deeper with less foot or less bottom. All right, you guys, thanks so much for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about me. Tell me about you in the comments. Who are you? Let me know who you are. You guys are kind of a new audience to me. Not all of you. Some of you are my Made It's from the other channel, and I love having you here. But if you're new here, tell me about you. And if you're a Made It, you know what to do. Write, I'm a Made It, and give it a thumbs up. All right, until next time, guys. Bye now.